Hi everyone, it's Rob Ryder on Sunday, June 5th, 2016. Let's audit the IRS. Sounds like a great idea. TIGTA, who we'll talk about soon enough, predecessor, the IRS Inspection Service, was created in 1951 in response to allegations of widespread corruption in the Internal Revenue Service. Well, I'd say that's still going on. In 1962, Congress gave the IRS Inspection Service and IRS Criminal Investigation statutory law enforcement authority, including the authority to execute and serve search and arrest warrants, serve subpoenas and summonses, to make arrests without warrant for any offense against the United States relating to the Internal Revenue laws. That's a really powerful statement. And as it turns out, these people still exist, and they're Inspector General Special Agents. And I had done a video back in the day about Inspector General and these special agents and how they're supposed to have these police powers, and they're really like what the U.S. Marshals of old were today, and that they should be able to investigate for crimes, and they should be able to put you under oath, and they should be able to do all these things. I never really had much luck getting them to do anything, except for TIGTA, because that was really the first people I ever contacted. I did an audio. It was like one of the first things I ever did, because I had a hour-and-a-half conversation with a couple of Treasury agents who happened to be from TIGTA to do with some complaints I had put in to TIGTA about the IRS, saying that I had asked the IRS to give me an audit, and they, were refusing to answer me. And that, I got two Treasury agents to come out, and, they're trying to, well, not really trying that hard. They're just asking questions like, people get asked. And, they asked me if I was a sovereign citizen, consider myself a sovereign citizen. I said, well, if you consider myself being the sovereign of a nation of one and a citizen of the kingdom of heaven, then absolutely, I am a sovereign citizen. Another point was, he mentioned all these names about people who were in prison. That's, like I was supposed to know who they were, and I really didn't. There's quite a few more now, as a matter of fact. But, he said, and I said, well, what's that got to do with me? He said, well, they're all in prison for trying to evade taxes. And I said, well, how can I be the one trying to evade taxes? I'm the one who's asking for the audit. And, these kind of answers are just things I don't know that they're used to hearing, but, by the time the conversation was done, he had told me 3 different times in this hour-and-a-half period that this was the most intelligent explanation he had ever heard for why a man believes what he believes. It was a good day for Rob Ryder. Had never led to anything, but here we are today, and I get a call Thursday from, as it turns out, the same people, but just a different person and a different office. And we're going to see what that was all about. And again, it's Sunday, June 5th, 2016. Easiest way to ever contact me is by email at courtofrecord@AOL.com, although I'm not really good about always getting back. You may have to do it more than once. I get lots of emails, and I'm a busy man. I got a lot of work to do, and because this is all I do, right? And I'm doing it for the Lord and for the common good, because shit needs to be done for the common good, or we never get out of this. So because of that, I really need you, if you can, to please donate. I don't cost much. I don't do much. I just do this all the time. So if you can do it by PayPal, that would be wonderful. That would be my daughter's email account is the PayPal account. And that's Ashley, A-S-H-L-E-Y, Rytlewski, R-Y-T-L-E-W-S-K-I @gmail.com. A-S-H-L-E-Y, R-Y-T-L-E-W-S-K-I @gmail.com. Or you can always stick it in the mail. Robert Rytlewski, 10955, 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Thank you very much. And I just wish I could talk about this, because this just came out yesterday, and this just blows me away. Pope issues motu proprio on removal of bishops. In a new apostolic letter issued motu proprio, Pope Francis has established new norms providing for the removal of bishops, or those equivalent to them in canon law, from their office in cases where they have through negligence committed or omitted acts that have caused grave harm to others, either with regard to the physical person or with regard to the community itself. And most people are going to say, oh, the bad priest and all the improprieties and the sexual crimes that they're involved in, and hey, they've cleaned up most of those people. The biggest crime that the church is involved in, omitted act, is if you were baptized a Roman Catholic here in America, they haven't sent your baptismal certificate, your sacramental records, to your home diocese, which is actually the Diocese of Rome. You're a Roman Catholic. You're in a mission church here in America, right? But your home is Rome. You're Roman Catholic. And so all Roman Catholics are supposed to have their baptismal certificate or sacramental records, call it what you will, registered in St. John Lateran, which is the mother church. It's not in the Vatican. It's the St. John Lateran, which was the first church established when Constantine became the emperor, and it was consecrated to Jesus Christ, and then since consecrated to John the Evangelist and John the Baptist. It's the mother church of Roman Catholics. And Canon 495, 890, I think it's 895. It talks about when you've been confirmed that your records, technically, they should have gone to the diocesan curia of your diocese. Well, my diocese isn't Grand Rapids. I'm a Roman Catholic. My diocese is Rome. I just happen to be in this outpost in this mission church. So anyways, they haven't sent our paperwork and we don't have our Holy See passport. Go figure, right? You could have a different nationality completely and you wouldn't have to put up with this crap. You could just say, well, I'm a Christian and here's my Holy See passport. If you have a problem with me, well, you need to take it to the church. To the nation, not to the church as being the church and state, to a state church. Anyways, that's really interesting stuff. And thank you very much, Pope Francis. I will be waiting to read it because right now it's in Italian, but it's supposed to have the procedure you use to do this. It's a non-judicial hearing, basically. You don't have to go through their court system. And so this is really the same thing we're trying to do with these people up here. For me, it's non-judicial. I'm not trying to go through the courts. I'm trying to get somebody to execute the law. So this is what happened. They called me on Thursday, and she said it was in regards to a letter or an email I had sent to a gal or an office called the General Counsel of the Department of the Treasury, which is the chief law officer of the Department of the Treasury. Now, I'd already sent 2 or 3 different ones to her, so I was like, well, which one is she talking about? And so I went and looked, and it had to do with this thing that I had done with the IRS. And so let's just start with that first. We'll just kind of step through all these things. I've done a lot of stuff last 30 days, and we're going to see little things that I'm just going to have to talk about and kind of blow by because I'm just not going to have time to get to them today in any depth. But it's all could be useful stuff if we can just find the end of the string and pull and get all the dominoes to go and whatever whatever you want to use as your analogy. Mine is logic circuits. I'm just trying to find the one set of contacts that are messed up, and when I change that logic, that one set of contacts from the state it's in to the other state, it will make all the other ones fall into line. Come on. This thing takes so long. Sorry, just a second. This thing takes a while to load these particular forms. I got a 14-year-old computer, and they started making these secure forms, and they just take longer to load than it used to be. That, and I'm running XP. Yeah, I'm getting a little bit out of date. I need to get this figured out. It's like, afford to get a new computer. Right now, I'd just be happy for food money. So if you can, please do donate. Okay, so this is the form that they have you do. Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue Service, application for award for original information. They call this the whistleblower program or something like that. And so I've done numerous things about Planned Parenthood Federation of America, right? How they're tax evaders. I've sent it to the district court. I've tried to get it to the jury. I've sent it to the director of the U.S. courts. I sent it to a lot of different people that I would say, well, that person there is an officer of the United States, and so they have a duty to enforce laws in the United States. Maybe they can't do it, but they can give it to somebody. I just need to get it into an officer of the United States and say, hey, a law is being broke. Well, none of those things had worked, and then I found out, hey, they have this whistleblower program, and so I put in a complaint against all these different Planned Parenthoods, and that's the EIN number of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, 13-1644147. Address, when they were created, name and title of the contact, the IRS employee to whom violation was first reported, if known. I said I have informed many supposed officers of the United States, not sure if IRS is one. Perhaps you can FOIA my email address. Yeah, FOIA my email address into the federal government and see what kind of stuff comes up. Because I've sent all sorts of shit to all sorts of places, and then if they respond to it and give it to somebody else, it starts this paper trail that could go on for who knows how far. Did you submit it to any other federal agency? Well, yes, I did. I gave it to Director Duff of the Administrative Office of the United States Courts, 1 Columbus Circle, Northeast Washington, D.C., 20544. On April 21st, 2016, you were served, Director Duff, and I haven't heard from you. Is this a new submission? Yeah, it is. Alleged violations. I just said, hey, they've done them all. Describe the alleged violations, blah, 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 blah. Planned Parenthood, Federation of America, and numerous affiliated alleged tax-exempt entities are in violation of various sections of Title 26, U.S. Code Chapter 42, private foundations and certain other tax-exempt organizations, and continue on a separate sheet, because it wants you to give a separate sheet if there's more details. Describe how you learned about or obtained the information that supports his claim. I pray a lot, and God answered. Thank you, Jesus. As far as the financing details, they can be found on the alleged taxpayer's website, while the documented campaign finance fraud is found on the Federal Election Commission website. It's public record. What date did you acquire this information? Soon after answering the call of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Of course. I said, I've had enough, Jesus. Just tell me what to do. I'll just do what you say. It's worked out really well ever since. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. What relationship? Other. I'm their accuser. If yes to 15, describe your relationship with the taxpayer. Describe your relationship with the taxpayer. No change in relationship. Now I am accusing them to you. Are you involved with any government or legal proceeding involving this taxpayer? Yes. Submitted a qui-tam complaint to Director of Administrative Offices, United States Courts. That would be Director Duff. Yep. Describe the amount of tax owed. I do not believe the alleged taxpayers ever received a letter ruling or determination letter from the IRS. Right? They're not who they say they are. So everything is tax evasion. They've never been tax exempt. They never did the damn paperwork. And then finally, name of the individual claimant. And this one, this is where it got interesting, because I know I'm Robert Allen Ritluski. I have a middle name, and it's proper case, and that is my full legal name, and I'll accept that. You want to sue me in that name there. But if you were ever to look at a docket, you would see that your name is backwards. Ritluski, Robert Allen. Same way that it is on your passport. So anyways, claimant's date of birth and Last four, claim of Social Security. Fuck that. I'm giving you the whole thing. I own this number, 374-506794. That's my property. Well, in fact, I told them. Address of claimant. And then I put note, because they gave me room to write more, so I'm going to leave them a note. Note, I am the rightful owner of Robert Allen Rytlewski, all caps. And Social Security number 374-506794. Not Robert A. Rytlewski, a pseudonym used to cloud legal and equitable titles of my private property. Now, Robert A. Rytlewski is the name. If I was still getting shit from the IRS, it would come in that name. And it's also the name that's on the stub that goes to my Social Security account. It says, your name and Social Security number is on the other side of the stub. When you flip it over, it's got 374-506794, Robert A. Rytlewski. Now, this isn't the Social Security card. This is a stub. You see how they're perforated? Well, there's a stub that goes with it, and I still have mine. And so I'd known, well, here's where the problem is. They got the wrong name on the account. And, I've tried it with the Social Security to change it and sent many complaints, different places trying to change it. Never had any luck, but it doesn't change the fact that Robert A. Rytlewski, a pseudonym, and it's used to cloud the title. Your full legal name should be on your Social Security account. And because it isn't, well, we could say that's a conversion. Anyway, that was, that was what that was about. And then there was a bunch of details, and I've already talked about the things I'm complaining to about Planned Parenthood. But, this is just how blatant it is. Violation 2 U.S.C. 434B and 441B. According to the Federal Election Commission document MUR 5808, in 2006, the recording secretary of the Federal Election Commission, Darlene Harris, certified that the commission found reason to believe that Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Planned Parenthood Action Fund, and Planned Parenthood Action Fund PAC violated 2 U.S.C. 4334 or 434B and 441B, one or other for each entity. They had different ones for each one. All right, so the Federal Election Commission, which is, that's a federal election commission. There's commissioners. They have all these powers, and they're supposed to be the ones who enforce the election laws. They have to do with campaign finance. So the Federal Election Commission found probable cause that the accused violated a federal law that could have resulted in the revocation of their tax-exempt status. It would have. And the imposition of certain excise taxes. Instead of prosecuting, as was and is their duty, the commissioners instead participated in the ongoing antitrust activity of the accused and its accomplices. They didn't prosecute. Right, and so that's really enough right there. And there was some other stuff, but, the Federal Election Commission said they're breaking the frickin' law. Well, one thing that you just can't get beyond is that if you were to go to the IRS website and just put in exempt organizations, right? I mean, forget Google, exempt organization, rulings and determination letters. Just put that in Google. You'll be at the IRS website, and you can read this on the site yourself. It says, a ruling or determination letter will be issued to your organization if the application and supporting documents establish that it meets the particular requirements of the section under which it is claiming exemption. However, the IRS will not ordinarily issue rulings or determination letters recognizing exemption if an issue involving the organization's exempt status is pending in litigation or is under consideration within the IRS. So did they get a ruling letter or not? Well, I say they didn't. Anyways, that was that. Then what happened? Okay. So I sent that It was like the end of April. And I got a reply. Department of the Treasury, Internal Revenue Service. Claim number. They gave me a claim number 2016-009523 for Planned Parenthood Federation of America, Inc. But look at what they did. They sent it to my middle initial name. That pissed me off. And then they didn't send it. It's not Oakland, it's Oakfield, right? So this was done on purpose, right? They sent it wrong place, and then they made sure to call me by my middle initial name again, right? But went on to say, we received your Form 211 with the information you furnished and have assigned the above claim number. We will evaluate the information you provided to determine if an investigation is warranted and award is appropriate. Please retain this notice for future reference. I did much more than that. It is necessary for you to provide your contact information in the event we need additional information regarding your claim or to conduct an interview. If you're not provided your contact information, we'll evaluate. Well, I did, but they're going to give it to Robert A. Rutluski anyways, which isn't really me. I just get his taxes for some reason. Right, again, everybody has one full legal name. And that's the name you need to use in your official capacity, or it's a simulated legal process using color of law because you're using a name that's an unregistered alias. Okay, so enough on this. But, because they sent it to me in this middle initial name, I said, well, piss on that. I'm going to send this to the General Counsel of the Department of the Treasury. And we'll look at why that's such a powerful office here in a second. I think we can do it right now, as a matter of fact. So, if you were to Google Part 30, Administrative, this is a section off the IRS website where it talks about the General Counsel orders and directives. And we're not going to read all this. We're just going to read this part here. That Office of the General Counsel for the Department of the Treasury, June 20th, 1934. Office of the Secretary. The Revenue Act of 1934 created in the Department of the Treasury the Office of General Counsel for the Department of the Treasury. Accordingly, there is hereby established a division to be known as Legal Division, Department of the Treasury, to which is transferred all of the personal records, books, furniture, supplies, blah, 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 of the Treasury Department, is hereby placed under the direct supervision and control of the General Counsel. The General Counsel is hereby authorized to perform all duties and functions incident to the administration of the legal activities of the Treasury Department. Hereby authorized to perform all duties and functions incident to the administration of the legal activities of the Treasury Department. Well, doesn't that make them the chief administrator? Right? Because what else? There is only one thing. It's all legal. We're talking about audited money and so forth, right? I mean, yeah, okay. Even buying the toilet paper. It goes on to say, this was in 1938, the operating control and responsibility for the legal work of the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is hereby transferred to the General Counsel of the Department of the Treasury. So the General Counsel of the Department of the Treasury is holding a whole bunch of power. Under the authority vested in me, General Counsel, Department of the Treasury, including this, that, and the other thing, I hereby define and prescribe the organization and function of legal division of the Department of the Treasury. The legal division is headed by the General Counsel, who is by statute the chief law officer of the Department of the Treasury. There is no one higher in law in the Department of the Treasury than the chief law officer. That would be higher than the director as far as or the secretary, as far as law is concerned. The law division comprises the attorneys providing legal services in offices and bureaus of the Department of the Treasury in accordance with delegations made by this order. Blah, blah, blah. So that's who this is. So I had known this, and I said, well, I'm going to send it to a complaint, because I had already sent 2 or 3 other ones, to the general counsel. And so I did. And so, this is like the 3rd or 4th one I'd sent. United States of America, because that's what the Republic is called in the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union. The very first article, the style of the Republic shall be the United States of America. By its relator, that would be me, Robert Allen Rytlewski. It can't talk, but I can talk for it. FCC registration number 00256088316. I believe we're all supposed to be registered with the FCC. That was one of the things I had just recently done. And not only that, we're going to have to go look at this a little bit. We need to be, there's a thing called the Local Area Transport, is it LATA? L-A-T-A? Which is a section of your state. Michigan has like 4 of them. And, but they're all under a Ma Bell. So AT&T broke up into all these different things, and now I got these Ma Bells. Could be called different things in different states, but they all have a tariff with the FCC, and they're a common carrier. And they're the ones who assign you a phone number. But that's not who we're going to get our phone service or phone number. It comes from somebody else. So we're not tied to the common carrier. And common carrier is a common law term. They have a common law duty. And so you want to be tied to the common carrier. That's one of the other things we're working on right now. But to do that, to do business with the FCC, you have to have a registration number. And, I'm not going to say go run out and do this yet, because if, I don't know what the right way is to do it. I do know they want you to put your middle initial, and I don't have a middle initial. I have a given name. It's Robert Allen. If I see anything that asks for a name, middle, last, I put my 2 names in the first block, and I don't have a middle name. I don't have a middle initial. I have a given name, Christian name. It's Robert Allen. Okay, so legal division, blah, blah, blah. Miss General Counsel, I'm attaching the recent indictment of the employees of the Department of the Treasury to the ongoing antitrust tactics of Planned Parenthood Federation of America, whose EIN is 13-1644147, and that would be the 211 form I sent. By use of the Department of the Treasury Internal Revenue Services application for award for original information, Form 211, the Department of the Treasury is now fully aware of the revenue crimes of this organization. I received a reply, also attached, that was sent to Robert A. Rytlewski, which is a pseudonym made up when I was an infant and without my consent, to a town not in Kent County, Michigan. Social Security account, Robert Allen Rytlewski, all caps, and 374506795. I made a mistake, it's 94. Is the property of Robert Allen Rytlewski proper case. It's mine. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. This has been acknowledged by the Federal Communication Commission as evidenced by FCC registration number. See, because when you do this, they go then, because you have to give them your Social Security number or TIN number, whatever it is, but you give them your Social Security number, and they go out and the Federal Communication Commission is supposed to be acting as a collection agent for the Treasury. So they go to see if there's any hits against the Social Security number. And they have a thing on the site where you put in your number and you either have a go or no go. It's red or green. If you're green, you can do business. If it's red, you can't. All that to say, the IRS may have said at one time that I owe them about $200,000. And that's when I said, I want to have an audit of the account. And, that was all way back then. So I've never been really harassed about the $200,000 they say I owe, but I've never really gotten a remedy. But if I actually owed that money, if I went there and I put this in and they say I owe $200,000 to the United States government, then I never should have got a green light with my registration number. But I did. So this has been acknowledged, right, that by the Federal Communication Commission and evidenced by FCC number. Any claim to the contrary is a false statement in a federal matter and violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001. your whistleblower office is committing a federal crime and you need to put a stop to it, have a new reply issued in my full legal name, or find yourself answering for their acts of treason. Sincerely, Robert Allen Rutluski, Office of Christ. I always go in the Office of Christ. Absolutely, I'm speaking for him. And so I sent it by email, and I'm just showing you this because this is how easy this is. See, if you can figure out what the ending is and find any one name that's getting email, so you could just put like @treasury.gov into Google, and eventually you'd see somebody's name in front of it who had, sent an email, gave an email address, whatever. Google's good at finding this stuff. And you could say, well, hey, what they do is they take the first name and the last name and they put a period between it, and that's how the Treasury does it. Now, TIGTA, they do the same thing, but it's at tigta.treж.gov. It's not treasury.gov. Right? So, Priya Iyer, she is the General Counsel of the Treasury. I got her personal email address. This is outstanding. No, her official email address, not her personal. No, this is her official email address. As far as I'm concerned, this is all official business through that email address. Well, I had sent something to her once, and it popped back like in just a few minutes. I thought it didn't work, but it said that she was out of the office. Automatic reply. That was even better. And it gave two other names of people to call with phone numbers, Kim Wilson and Aloma Shaw. Well, I didn't call them. I just put a period between their name, and I sent all of them a copy of it. There, you all been served. So, right, this is the letter that I had sent on May 25th that Casey Bates called me about on Thursday, and I actually talked to Casey on Friday. And so here come Friday. Within a short period of time, I'm finding out, I didn't know at that time, she had just said she was from Treasury. Well, now I'm finding out she's from TIGTA, and that she's an investigator, and she wants to take my statement. Outstanding. All right, so she says she has to put me under oath. And it's like, well, hey, this is actually, thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, put me under oath. I got lots to say. And so we did. And without me trying to remember everything I said with her, because what she told me was I could also send a affidavit. So I did. But what she did tell me is she had already opened up a complaint number. And so what this is, when we were talking, I was talking about to her at first about the complaint I had submitted about Planned Parenthood and how nobody was doing anything with it. And then I had taken that and I had sent it to I got this letter with this middle initial name, and I said, I don't have a middle initial name. That I have a full legal name. That's all I got. One of them. And I said, by the way, any attorney, judge, officer of the United States, anybody else who's using the middle initial is simulating a legal process under color of law, because you cannot use a middle initial name in an official capacity. That's not the name that's on your, what will we call them? Appointment papers. Or it's not the name that's on the bar, right? And so I gave her the example of an attorney who's licensed to practice law in the state should have had his name enrolled on the roll of attorneys. Well, whatever name that is the name they can practice under. I said, I don't believe there's any attorneys on there that are in a middle initial, but what I do know is they hide the book. They don't want to show it to you. I'm telling her all this stuff while I'm under oath, right? So this is just wonderful, because the oath was how do they start that? The following statements are true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief. Do you swear the following statements are true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief? Yes, I do. Absolutely. I believe they're correct. I believe they're true. So now you're going to have to prove that they're not. Right? I need to have evidence that they're not. So I did this one, Robert Allen Rytlewski, sui juris, because, hey, sui juris means in your own person, not Rytlewski Robert Allen. That isn't the right way to do it. Sui juris. This is what the Pope was doing this summer when he said he was, they made a big deal about it. He said at the joint session of Congress, I believe it was, that he was appearing in his own person. And in the Bible, it talks about that's the only way that the Pharisees will see you. They won't see you when you come in the name of the Lord. They only see you when you come in the name of your person. You come in your own person or whatever it is. Well, technically, that just means sui juris, which we all want to be. We want to be on our own person. So Robert Allen Rytlewski, sui juris, relator for United States of America. I've decided I'm going on top of the paper from now on. Everybody else is underneath me. That's why the U.S. Department of Treasury is after me. I'm the sovereign. I'm at the top. I'm sui juris. I'm the relator for the United States of America. I'm going to tell one of my agencies, the U.S. Department of Treasury, care of Casey Bates Inspector, Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration, regarding 71-1606-0027-C, which, as it turns out, you can FOIA, and so I have. Although I did mine as a Privacy Act statement because I'm a party of interest, or in interest, a real party in interest. So I, Robert Allen Rytlewski, sui juris citizen and relator for the United States of America, by this affidavit, make all officers and employees of the U.S. Department of the Treasury conscious and aware of the unlawful conversion of my estate, Robert Allen Rytlewski, and Social Security account number 374506794, from myself, Robert Allen Rytlewski, as owner, to the pseudonym Robert A. Rytlewski, which is really what Casey was interested in. She didn't really care that, well, I mean, not that she didn't care. She said, well, they're already investigating your complaint about Planned Parenthood. I'd like to talk about your complaint about the IRS. And I said, oh, yes. And that's what got me going. I said, yeah, they put my account in my middle initial name. It's on my Social Security card, blah, 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 blah. I just rattling this stuff off to her. And, because I figure it's all being recorded, right? Well, as it turns out, she must have taken shorthand or something because she pretty much had it all down on paper when she read it back to me. Much better than I could have ever remembered it. So, but then she said that I could also submit a affidavit. And that the case number was, or I think it may have been complaint number actually, right, is 71-1606-0027-C. So if anybody else wants to FOIA that with the TIGTA, Treasury Inspector General of Tax Administration, this is their site right here. Right, and so someplace on there, oh, there's FOIA right there. You can FOIA it. And we can all follow along, see what happens next. Because they took my testimony. This is the wonderful thing. I'm a witness for the Treasury Department. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Jesus. I finally got to be a witness. I'm usually writing paper that just bounces off the wall. Somebody actually called and took my frickin' oath, or gave me an oath and then took my testimony. So I let them have it. Yes, take judicial notice. This unlawful conversion has an adverse effect on the revenues of the United States. That's the important thing for the government, and conceals the sui juris legal status of Robert Allen Rytlewski from the official records of the United States. Robert A. Rytlewski is not I. It is not my full legal name, nor is it a creation of my making. They stuck you with it as an infant. And so now, because this affects the revenue of the United States, that makes the United States of America the plaintiff. I'm just the ex-rel relator who's a victim of somebody violating the laws of the United States of America. Robert Allen Rytlewski is my one and only full legal name, and the only name I acknowledge as lawfully binding in matters of commerce or state. I demand any attachment of my private property to the pseudonym Robert A. Rytlewski be stricken from the official records of the United States. My full name, my full legal name, Robert Allen Rutluski, is being concealed from the official records of the United States, so unknown others can administer my Social Security account and estate during my presumed absence. For the record, I am not dead or lost beyond the sea. I claim officers of the United States have a duty to protect my life, liberty, and private property from the belligerents that have unlawfully converted the same. Take judicial notice. Any officer of the United States, lawyer, judge, using any name other than their full legal name in an alleged official capacity is participating in a simulated legal process by color of law, the same being a Title 42 U.S. Code Chapter 21 Civil Rights Violation, as well as 18 U.S.C. 241, 18 U.S.C. 242, International Crimes Against Humanity and War Crimes. Any officer of the United States relying on the standard Form 61 appointment affidavits as evidence of appointment are currently unconstitutionally appointed. The construction of the standard Form 61 has bifurcated the wording of the mandated oath of office found in 5 U.S.C. 3331, technically invalidating the appointment. This defect must be corrected. I've talked about that numerous times. If you Google this thing called the Standard Form 61 or Appointments Affidavit, whatever it is, you're going to find this thing called the Standard Form 61. And it's the piece of paper that goes into their first official personnel folder of an appointed officer of the United States as the evidence of their appointment. The problem is that they split the wording of the mandated oath found in 5 U.S.C. 3331 into two different parts. And so on the form where it says oath of office, that part isn't the complete oath that it is in 5 U.S.C. 3331. So technically you didn't take the frickin' oath of office. It invalidated the appointment. It's called the rule of law, and people are using that against us. By doing that, they've made sure that all these officers are unconstitutionally appointed and they don't have any powers. And then all the ones that are supposed to be elected aren't properly elected, so they don't have any powers. And so none of the states are actually who they say they are, and there's nobody seated in the Congress, and it just goes on and on and on. I don't want to talk about all that again with Casey. I just wanted to give her the nuts and bolts, right? So I'm just saying, hey, any officer of the United States, lawyer or judge, using any name other than their full legal name in alleged official capacity is participating in a simulated legal process. I swore to it, and she took it. I wish the Department of the Treasury assess, audit, and account my private property Social Security account 374-506-794 and all other property associated by reference to it or my estate, Robert Allen Rutluski. Then convert the same to legal tender. I probably shouldn't use the word convert. Monetize the same to legal tender, using the proceeds to discharge any debts due and owing the United States and make the balance available for my exclusive use and enjoyment. Because that's what Jesus said to do. He said, sell all your property and give to the poor. That's what I'm going to do. Take my account. It's not doing me much good the way it is now. I can't use it. Sell it. I declare under penalty of perjury the foregoing is true and correct. Executed on June 3rd, 2016. Robert Allen Rutluski. Office of Christ. There you are. And hey, she took it. Right? She took my oath over the phone, and then she took my thank you. I'll include this in your complaint. Casey Bates, Special Agent, Treasury Inspector General of Tax Administration, New York Field Division. Outstanding. So, I really don't know what's going to happen next. That was all on Friday. All I could do since then is I did put in a Freedom of Information Act against this number to see what comes up. But that could take some time. So, okay. Well, that was kind of it for that for now, but it leads me to, I want to talk about this other complaint that I spent a lot of time last week putting together, and I sent it to the appeals court, and I'm going to talk about why I did that here in just a second. So give me just a minute to reload some information. Hang on here. Okay, before I get to the complaint, I wanted to point out this thing about conversion, right? This is, if you just put in Wikipedia conversion, and it'll be in parentheses law, because there's different, obviously conversion can be used for lots of different words, but conversion in law, right, is a common law tort. A conversion is a voluntary act by one person inconsistent with the ownership rights of another. It is a tort of strict liability in the United Kingdom. And strict liability has a common law definition. And basically it says, hey, it doesn't matter if you meant it or not, you're still liable for what happened. Right? So a conversion is a voluntary act by one person inconsistent with the ownership rights of another. How about taking my full name and putting an A instead of my middle name? And I really blew through that part that I did with the taking the oath and so forth, because it was it's one of those things that it's hard for me to talk about and remember unless I'm just kind of sitting here just kind of pondering it, right? And the ideas pop back in. But she made it, she did try to say, well, yeah, but you can use a middle initial. And I said, well, you can. I said, you can't with me. And it was like she was just testing to make sure that I had said what I had said, not that she was disagreeing with it. And at the end of the day, she didn't say I was crazy, right? She took my testimony and said I could submit a affidavit. And to me, that means if I can submit one, I can submit another one. So I'm going to have more to say. But I wanted to get this video out of the way first and then just sit back and think, okay, what will I do next with that? But I got lots of irons in the fire, and I like to talk about more than just one of them. But back to this conversion. So this is what the IRS has done, or whoever did it did. They converted your property to their use. Traditionally, a conversion occurs when some chattel is lost, then found by another who appropriates it for his own use without legal authority to do so. It is also applied in cases where chattels were bailed for safekeeping, then misused or misappropriated by the bailee or a third party. Well, there's for the bailee and the bailor people. I know that a lot of people say, well, in common law, it'd all be about bailee, bailor, and being bailed, and there you are, right? It's the same thing. Just you can say the chattel's been lost, or you can say you bailed it with somebody. But either way, because they say our property's been abandoned. Well, I shouldn't say they do. I've heard people say that that's what they say they do. I don't really know what they say. But not all conversions are thefts, because conversion requires no element of dishonesty. It didn't have to be on purpose, just had to be a mistake. But it doesn't matter. It's still a conversion, and they would have to give your property back. So, right, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. Just give me back my property. For conversion, there always must be an element of voluntary dealing with another's property inconsistent with their rights. Well, yeah, changing the name on the frickin' account would be one of those. Elements of conversion. The elements of conversion cause of action are the plaintiff has a clear legal ownership or right to possession of the property at the time of the conversion. Yes, I did. The defendant's conversion by wrongful act or disposition of plaintiff's property rights. There was damage resulting from the conversion. History of conversion. Conversion has been described as a fascinating tort, albeit one which has largely eluded the attention of legal writers. Yeah, they don't want to talk about it. Other sources define conversion as a distinct act of dominion wrongfully exerted over another's personal property in denial of or inconsistent with his title or rights therein, or in derogation, exclusion, or defiance of such title or rights without the owner's consent and without lawful justification. And I made that perfectly clear to a Treasury agent under oath that that's what they did. I say that's what happened. This is the great part. A conversion occurs when a person does such act in reference to the personal property of another as amount in view of law to his appropriating the property for himself.
The action probably developed because there was no equivalent for an action in English law to the Roman law re vindatio. I guess this was an action in protection of one's own property whereby a claimant could simply allege in court, that's mine. That's what I did. Because I was under oath, I'm basically in court. Oh, it's just wonderful. Yes, it's mine. It's a long, long thing to read. That's all I wanted to get out of that. But that and the Inspector General's Act of 1978, which shows where the power of these people comes. So the purpose of establishing an office of Inspector General, departments and agencies involved, blah, blah, blah. And then there is established in each of such establishments an office of Inspector General subject to paragraph B. So we have to look at just, got to look at that. Why is office here? Why is that lowercase? Office of Inspector General. In each such establishment, an office, lowercase, of Inspector General subject to subparagraph B. So whatever it is subject to subparagraph B. Well, isn't this subparagraph B here? In the establishment of the Department of the Treasury, an office of Inspector General for the Department of the Treasury and an office of Treasury Inspector General for tax administration. There's two different offices of Inspector Generals in the Department of Treasury. And the Office of Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration doesn't answer to the other one. It does its own thing. But it looks like all of these other ones, right? So the lowercase office, common noun office of Inspector General, that these Inspector Generals actually work for these Inspector Generals. Because this is where the office is. Right, here's Office of Inspector General, which is different than Office of Treasury Inspector General. So I believe that all these other Inspector Generals are under this Office of Inspector General for the Department of the Treasury. And the one Lone Ranger is this Office of Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. But, I'm just guessing. I don't really know. It's like, well, when you look at it, what does it look like? Authority of Inspector General. In addition to the authority already provided in this Act, Inspector General, in carrying out provisions, have access to all records. Okay, make investigation reports. Request such information assistance as necessary. Require by subpoena the production of all information so they can issue subpoenas. I made them a court. This is the wonderful thing. To administer to or take from any person an oath, affirmation, or affidavit whenever necessary in the performance of the functions assigned by this Act, which oath, affirmation, or affidavit, when administered or taken before an employee of the Office of Inspector General, designated by the Inspector General, shall have the same force and effect as if administered or taken by or before an officer having a seal. Now we can argue whether I took it before them or not, but hey, we're on the phone. I faced east. That's where New York is, and they were right in front of me, just 500 miles away. But they also have the power to arrest without warrant and all sorts of wonderful things, right? So it would be an interesting read if you're looking for something to read. Inspector General's Act of 1978. Jeepers. Okay, one more second again. Okay, so this is a completely different subject than what we were talking about. This is going to eventually end up being a complaint that I sent to the Appeals Court of Michigan. And I just did that at the end of last week, and I haven't heard anything yet. But, I'm hopeful now after getting what I got from the Treasury. So anyways, if you were to go down to get a driver's license in Michigan, they would give you this form. It says Michigan Department of State Driver's License and ID Application. All right, so this is like for, if you never had one before. So kind of what happened was I haven't renewed my license since it expired in 2009, I guess it was. And Because, again, thank you, Jesus, in the last year, I've had, not last 9 months, 3 grandchildren. Didn't have any before, now I have 3. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The youngest, Corbin, was just born here a week ago. 9 pound 1 ounce. Big boy. And his mother, Ashley, is my daughter, whose name you see me asking for donations. Well, her and her husband live with me. And, she had been on me to get some kind of ID or whatever, because, she may need me to go to the store or something, and they're worried about, you're not coming back because you don't have a driver's license and blah, 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 blah. I got a suspended license and all this other stuff. So, at her insistence, I went down with her and was going to go. I said, well, let's go down and see if I can get a state ID. When I got down there, I kind of find out they no longer have any record for me because it had been too long since, apparently, I guess I only keep records 5 years or something like that. So I was going to have to do it again. They want me to fill this form out. And I didn't have all the paperwork they wanted. And try to remember what it was they wanted me to bring. But, so I took the form home and I was looking at it. And so here's where the full legal name comes in, right? They want you to put your full legal name here. Now, I believe that to be your proper case name, Robert Allen Rutluski. And then, residence address. It doesn't define what residence address means. But as it turns out for me, even though I live in this place called Oakfield, Michigan, it could be that my residence address is Grand Rapids, Michigan. For judicial purposes, it's your residence address, which is different than your mailing address. Yada, 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 right? And they want you to put a phone number. And you're going to certify all this. It's like, well, how am I going to certify these things? I don't even know what you're talking about. Right, permanent mailing address, if different from residence. Well, how do I know if it's different? I don't know what my residence address is. I've tried to find out before, and nobody would tell me. They really don't want you to know what your residence address is. So anyways, I didn't have this filled out when I went back in, but I had all the documents I thought they wanted, and I was just going to go through it with them and say, I don't really know what you guys want me to do. And so I got the manager to help me. And so, are you a citizen of the United States? And I said, well, yeah, because I have actually your certified copy of record of birth, not the certificate of live birth or these other documents. It could be the thing that is actually your U.S. your U.S. birth certificate, because it has all the elements on it that they ask for. But the one that got me, forgetting all that, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, is, are you a resident of the state of Michigan? I said, no. They said, well, you can't have a driver's license or an ID unless you're a resident of the state of Michigan. I said, well, why is that? I could if I wasn't a citizen of the United States. You got some other paperwork to do, right? If I said no, last 6 months, have you had a medical condition? If I had said yes, it didn't mean that I couldn't drive. You're just going to do something, right? So how come the only one that you're going to tell me as I stand here right now that I can't have a driver's license, you want to fill the form out, is this one here, that I won't say that I am a resident of the state of Michigan? Well, you have to be a resident of the state of Michigan. So I don't have to be, right? That's not your determination as far as I'm concerned. Well, they didn't go any further. I said, look it down here, though. It says, I certify under penalty of perjury that I am a legal Michigan resident. I said, why would I have to check a box to say I'm a resident of the state of Michigan and then sign my name that I'm a legal Michigan resident? I don't believe those are the same thing. Well, of course they are. This is just the counter troll talking, because they don't know. They never read this stuff. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I said, fine, I'm not doing it. And I left. And so I decided, though, I was going to go and file a complaint. Because that's what I do. I write complaints to people, and I'm going to find somebody that's going to listen to me. And I had sent a complaint. I wrote this to the Secretary of State, Michigan Department of State, Lansing, Michigan. I even put a $1 stamp on it. Canceled it. United States of America, XREL, Robert Allen Rutluski, violation of Article 14, or Article 6, and the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Madam Secretary, this on behalf of Sovereign United States of America and one of its inhabitants is to make you fully conscious of your subordinate's decision to deny a citizen of the United States life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness without due process of law. Such behavior, uncorrected, is construed to be treason against the United States, for which you, in your official capacity, would be a defendant. Is it your intention to war with the Constitution, Madam Secretary? Article 6 of the Constitution mandates, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution of any laws, or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. That's a powerful statement. It don't matter what you thought. The law is the laws of the United States. And every judge, no matter what their jurisdiction, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Senators and representatives before mentioned, and members of the several state legislatures and executives and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall be required as qualification of office, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that says they have to enforce the laws of the United States, and here's one we're going to make them enforce. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. That would make me a citizen of the United States and Michigan. So I'm not a resident of Michigan or the state of Michigan. I'm a citizen of Michigan. Resident of Michigan. A slave could be a resident of Michigan. Right? A homeless man could be a resident of Michigan. He don't have any place to live, but he's in Michigan. That's where he resides. Well, that ain't good enough for me. I'm a citizen. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. Thank you very much. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. Well, that's what they did when they didn't give me a damn driver's license. All right? That was no due process of law. Due process of law, I mean, I went to court and a judicial determination was made, not some frickin' counter troll who didn't read the law, just, sharing their frickin' private opinion with me. Madam Secretary, I provided your employee and manager of the Montcalm Co. plus Tricia Howard all the documents required for her to issue the state-required documentation, driver's license, to evidence my driving privileges in Michigan according to MCL 257-307. Yet she made a determination to enforce a non-existent requirement that is abridging my privileges or immunities as a citizen of the United States. What does 307 say? It says, if an applicant for an operator's license or chauffeur's license to operate a non-commercial motor vehicle is a citizen of the United States, the applicant shall supply a photographic identity document, birth certificate, other sufficient documents to the Secretary of State may require to verify the identity and citizenship of the applicant. That's pretty cut and dried. Yeah, okay, blah, 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 blah. It went on, and, I sent that, when did I send that? I got most of these dated somewhere. That was May 19th. Didn't hear anything from that. And after this, because of the things I was studying, I said, hey, I'm going to send it as a telegram. Because a telegram uses a common carrier, and that would tie to the common law, and yada, yada, yada. So I sent a similar one, not quite as long, because it's a little bit expensive to send it by telegram, to her also, and they got it, but I haven't heard anything yet. Well, then it's like, well, what are you going to do, right? You haven't heard. You've sent something to an office of the government. They have a duty to respond. They can't just not respond, right? What do you do when the government doesn't do what they're supposed to? Well, in common law, you would ask for like a writ of quo warranto. By what authority does somebody do or not doing something? And as it turns out, that is done through the appeals court. And so I sent a complaint to the appeals court. And oh crap. This takes a second. Hang on, sorry. Get a few too many things open and gotta hit reset. Okay, so where was all that stuff? That was up here. Yeah. Okay, so this complaint's kind of long, and I was really just going to share it with people to use as bullet points of things that I've talked about in the past to say, look, this is what it says, right? I'm just trying to find a way to take all these pieces and put it together and give it to somebody who might do something with it. So in Michigan, we have a thing called the Court of Appeals of the State of Michigan. Now, the name shows up a lot of different ways, but that's the way the name shows up around the seal. So it's like, well, that's the name I'm going to use, Court of Appeals of the State of Michigan. I'm going to take it off the seal and use that as the name on the complaint. But it's going to go to the Michigan Court of Appeals Office of the Clerk, to the Chief Clerk. Care of Mark Stoddard, District Commissioner. So, in Michigan, there's one Court of Appeals, but the state was split into 4 districts. Each district has a district court of the Court of Appeals. And that's the way that the state was split up when it went from being a federal territory to being a state. When they first came in 1805, there was nothing. Then they burnt down Detroit and showed up the next day and said, hey, we're here to help. A bunch of people on a horseback, a general who said he was the governor, and some military officers who said that, hey, we're the judges. And they split the state into 3 pieces at first, and then 4, I think, is how they did it. And created these districts, and each judge was over a district. But when they got together, they were the Supreme Court. So we still have these 4 districts. And so I said, there's just something different about the appeals court than any other court that we have. And they can take original writs. Well, not only that, but as you'll see, the definition of appeal. In criminal law, to charge with a crime. That's an appeal. Okay, it's appeals court. I'm charging with a crime. That's the reason I'm going to the appeals court. Forget the other stuff. I'm going to put in a criminal complaint. So, complaint for the real parties in interest, the United States of America and the state of Michigan. I, Robert Allen Rutluski, citizen and realtor of the same, make the court aware of the ongoing warring with the Constitution of the United States, disenfranchisement of political and civil rights of the peaceful inhabitants of Michigan, unlawful conversion, private property, and embezzlement of revenues of the United States by the state of Michigan and its co-conspirators. It's their fault. Because there's a difference between the state of Michigan and state of Michigan. We'll see that in a second. Okay, jurisdiction. Well, they want you to they want you to tell the court why it has jurisdiction. Court officers are obligated and empowered by Constitution and treaty. Well, they should know that. So what's the Constitution say? Well, there's Article 6 and Article 4, or an amendment, the 14th Amendment again. And there's also Webster's Dictionary that says an appeals court, if they want to argue with Webster's, that's up to them. But I say that that's the one I'm using. Officers of the Court of Appeals of the State of Michigan are morally obligated to defend persons and property from insurgents, rebels, and human traffickers who are usurping the powers of the state. I would say that gives them jurisdiction, and they can argue, but they haven't. But then I wanted to give them some adjudicative facts. Right, so I write these things much longer than they need to be because I'm trying to point out everything, not just my one little problem, and everything is kind of a complicated subject. But these are just truisms. So Article 1 of the Articles of Confederation of Perpetual Union, please go look yourself. The style of this confederacy shall be the United States of America. See how the is capitalized? The United States of America? That is the name of the republic. That is its full legal name. Anything else is not the United States of America. So you know what that means? It means United States of America is not the United States of America. The United States of America is a kingdom whose subjects are under the jurisdiction of the successors of Prince George III and his successors. You would call him King George, but it's actually in the Treaty of Paris, 1783. He calls himself Prince George III. And he's the king of United States of America. United States of America and the United States of America share the same space, territory, and they've been joined in union under United States of America, or under United States. That's what I believe. Doesn't really matter. Let's go on. So the Preamble, Constitution of Michigan, in part. All right, so this is the thing. Now, is the state of Michigan different than? Is the state of Michigan different than the state of Michigan? Let's go look. Here's the Constitution of Michigan of 1835, the Preamble. We, the people of the territory of Michigan, as established by Act of Congress on the 11th day of January in the year 1805, in conformity with the 5th article of the ordinance providing for the government of territory of the United States, northwest of the river, believing that the time has arrived when our present political condition ought to cease and the right of self-government be asserted, and availing ourselves of the provisions of the aforesaid ordinance of the Congress of the United States on the 13th day of July, 1787, and acts of Congress passed in accordance therewith, which entitle us to admission into the Union, upon condition which has been fulfilled, do by our delegates in convention assembled mutually agree to form ourselves into a free and independent state by the style and title of the state of Michigan, and do ordain and establish the following constitution for the government of the same. 1835, the state of Michigan's been created. Its creation in the Articles of Confederation and Perpetual Union already made it part of the Union. It doesn't need anything else, yet they're going to say it needs to be added to the Union, which they didn't do until 1837. Because they had a border conflict. So what this did, what 1835 Constitution did, it took the territory the way it sat, according to the 5th article of the ordinance, and which said, first there was going to be 3 states, the eastern, central, and western states created, but there could be 5 states. And if there were going to be 5 states, then they had to go to the southernmost point of Lake Michigan and run an east-west line and create 2 states above that. Now, if you go and look at any map of the Midwest, that would mean that most of what we call Chicago would be in Wisconsin. But it isn't. It's in Illinois. And the same with Indiana. It goes up north of this west point. And so does the border of Ohio. So all the states you see now don't at all agree with what the Northwest Ordinance said, which was passed before there was a Constitution of the United States. Right, this was done, the Northwest Ordinance was done when there was a General Assembly, and of course the Constitution is where we get the bicameral Congress of the House and the Senate. So this state, the one of 1835, predates, or it is not subject to the Constitution. That was 1835. Then they had another one in 1850. So now look at the people of the state of Michigan. Look at the isn't capital. Now it's state of Michigan. Well, who are they? Whoever they are, they're going to ordain something, and they're going to say what the boundaries are. And in these boundaries here, and again, this comes right out of the Constitution, right? So the boundaries are in there. These boundaries for the 1850 Constitution do not match the 5th article of the ordinance. So the state of Michigan is not part of the United States of America. It's foreign to the Republic. It may be here in the same piece of ground, but it's foreign to the Republic. That was my point. All that to show you that. And that's what this is. The acts of Congress passed in accordance therewith, and which entitle us to admission to the Union upon a condition which has already been fulfilled, which means you're already in the Union. Style and title of State of Michigan. Okay, there you go. State of Michigan. The State of Michigan, created by the Constitution 1835, is in perpetual union with the United States of America, as its boundaries are consistent with Article 5 of the An Ordinance, the Northwest Ordinance, basically. Constitution of Michigan 1850, the boundaries of the State of Michigan are not consistent. State of Michigan is a foreign body and not part of the United States of America. As you can see, I'm not reading every word, but I'm just trying to get the gist through so you can say, hey, he's right. It isn't the same. 1909 Constitution of the State of Michigan, because we had one there too, does not apply to the inhabitants of the free and independent state by the style of State of Michigan established under Northwest Ordinance. Now here's the biggie. Constitution of Michigan of 1863 is a declaration of war against the United States of America and the State of Michigan, as it contains numerous articles that are in violation of the federal Constitution, including Article 1, says Section 11, Article 2, Section 9 and 10, Article 4, Section 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Article 7, Section 7, Article 8, Section 2. How do I know that? Because it says so in the footnotes. That these provisions have been found, I don't know how they put it, inconsistent with the federal Constitution or something. Well, that would mean it's against the federal Constitution, then it's unconstitutional, because the state Constitution does not supersede the federal Constitution. So it's a freaking declaration of war. State of Michigan officials are not elected in accordance with the Michigan election law. I've talked about that enough times. They don't have, the presumed elected office holders do not have in their possession a certificate of election signed by the governor, countersigned by the Secretary of State, and under the Great Seal of State. The offices are vacated. It says so in the Michigan election law, Act 116 of 1954, that these people need to have a certificate of election. Right? Under the Great Seal of the State. County officials, basically the same thing, under the county of the seal. Under the seal of the county. Yeah. State of Michigan has no representatives in Congress of the United States. Alleged senators' representatives do not have a certificate of election, as I pointed out above, signed by the governor, Secretary of State, under the Great Seal, nor have they complied with Title II of United States Code, Sections 1 through 26, which pretty much say once they get to D.C. what they need to do to be considered properly seated. Nor filed a properly executed oath of office mandated by 5 U.S.C. 3331. It's because that standard Form 61 appointment affidavits has bifurcated the wording of the oath that's in Title 5 U.S. Code 3331, and it invalidated the oath. It's just that simple. It's go, no go. There is no in between. It's either you did it or you didn't. If you didn't do it, go back and do it again. No, judges are elected in accordance with the Michigan election law, and the black robe priests acting as judges or judicial circuits, like we have the 13th Circuit and the 17th Circuit and the 18th Circuit. And in the Constitution it says there will only be one circuit court, so it's like, well, what are all these other numbers? Well, there you are. Priests acting as judges of judicial circuits or numerical districts do not have any authority to judicially enforce the laws of the United States. They do not represent the state. They are members of a private ecclesiastic society that created the state of Michigan and are in rebellion against the state and federal government. These are the subjects of King George III and his successors. They're insurgents. It's a rebellion. Alleged state and local officers have not filed for record an oath of office mandated by the Michigan election law. These actors fraudulently use a pseudonym. They like to use names with middle initials. Can't do that. It's not the name that's on their frickin' paperwork. It may be on their oath, but it isn't on their... See, in Michigan, you have to file an affidavit of identity. And then, if you're filling out... to be an attorney, you need to file to be on the roll of attorneys. So, all these documents that they use to initiate getting their position, like their employment paperwork and so forth, it's going to have their full legal name on it, but that isn't the name they're using, so they're not, they're just not doing it in an official capacity. And I have to say that Casey agreed with me. Alleged judges, lawyers, federal, state, local, elected and appointed officers, professionals requiring state licenses use an unregistered pseudonym while simulating legal process. This name is not the full legal name they are required to provide as evidence of identity. These individuals hide their true identity while engaged in a simulated legal process by color of law as part of an antitrust scheme designed to enslave the inhabitants of the United States and their godforsaken ecclesiastic society. The alleged officers of the United States do not have a valid oath of office in their official personnel folder. 5 U.S.C. 3331 mandates the style and phrasing of the oath. The construction of the standard form 61 appointment affidavits bifurcates the mandated phrasing of 5 U.S.C. 3331 and invalidates this document as proof of constitutionally valid appointment. A completed copy of SS-61 is to be filed in their official personnel folder, thereby becoming evidence of their unlawful appointment. Because they did put one in there, it shows they didn't take the right oath. So they're not constitutionally appointed. A copy of the SS-61 is included as an exhibit. These officers are in violation of Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the United States and have no constitutionally ordained powers. Alleged law enforcement officers do not subscribe their full legal name in an official capacity. They have not sworn an oath in their full legal name and do not deliver offenders to state custody. Instead, they engage in human trafficking by kidnapping inhabitants of Michigan and delivering them to private prisons as part of a scheme to extort a ransom. The assessment section of the General Property Tax Act is not administered in accordance with law by township, city, or village assessment officers. And this is really where it starts locally. Assessment rolls are not available for inspection. No lawful certificate or certification of assessment roll exists. The alleged local assessment officer refuses to acknowledge the peaceful inhabitants of Michigan and their private property. They refuse to include the same on lawfully certified assessment roll in accordance with law, leaving the owners or occupants unknowns on the official record. I'm going to have to put this part into my next affidavit to Casey, because this is what it says, and this is the General Property Tax Act for Michigan. So every state has, they don't call them exactly the same thing, but they're all doing the same thing. What's your Property Tax Act? Right? Go find out about assessments and the local assessment roll, right? So this is what it says in Michigan's. On or before the first Monday in March in each year, the assessor shall make and complete an assessment roll upon which he or she shall set down all of the following. This is what the assessor has to do. The name and address of every person liable to be taxed in the local tax collecting unit, with a full description of the real property liable to be taxed. If the name of the owner or occupant of the tract or parcel of real property is known, the assessor shall enter the name and address of the owner or occupant opposite to the description of the property. If unknown, the real property described upon the roll shall be assessed as owner unknown. All contiguous subdivisions of any section that are owned by one person, firm, corporation, or other legal entity, and all unimproved lots in any block that are contiguous and owned by one person, firm, corporation, or other legal entity shall be assessed as one parcel unless demand in writing is made by the owner or occupant to have each subdivision of the section of each lot assessed separately. However, failure to assess parcels and entities do not invalidate the assessment made. Each description shall show as near as possible the number of acres contained in it, as determined by the assessor. It is not necessary for assessment roll to specify the quantity of land composed in any town, city, or village lot. Now in Michigan, when you buy property, the owner is supposed to get this form that's called the real estate transfer affidavit and take it to the local assessor. Now, they do this form at the closing table, but the closing agent takes it. Well, it says on the form that you have to do it as the owner, and if you don't do it to transfer the property, then you're guilty of a crime. And boom, they put a frickin' lien against the property. But worse off is the local assessor was never told that you bought the property. You didn't take the form to them. And I've yet to have anybody in Michigan go do it. I mean, I've talked about this 5-6 times. I thought, well, shit, by now somebody in Michigan would have picked it up and gone down and talked to their local assessor and said, I want you to put this in the file, see what happens. But it ain't happened yet. Someday it might. I don't own any property, so I really can't do it. My point is, you're not known on your property. So you're not on the land. You're in the real property that, because it was never claimed, because you never claimed it, it's been considered abandoned and converted to this land comprised in any city, town, city, or village. Because town means a township. We just haven't gone and transferred the property. So the warranty deed, I did a video to start all this crap 5 years ago called Claim, accept the deed. And the idea was, this is just because it was a contract, not because I really knew anything other than I can look at the contract and say, well, this is supposed to be a contract. It's a deed. Deeds are used for conveyancing and contracts, and in that case, well, then both parties would have to sign the contract. And the grantee hasn't signed the contract. So, hey, we need to sign this thing. Well, that's technically correct, but it isn't the only problem because the warranty deed isn't the title deed. It's more like a receipt. And if it went, so because there had to be excise taxes paid, which would be revenue stamps, the idea is those stamps are supposed to be put on the warranty deed by the county. And then I think you take the warranty deed and this transfer affidavit and take it to the local tax assessor at the township and say, I want to transfer this property into my name. A couple other things you need to know about this is that there's a thing called the final plat. Final, F-I-N-A-L, plat, P-L-A-T-T, which is a map. It's a survey map upon which the owner's name will be on it. And if your name isn't on the final plat, you're not the owner. Now, who has the final plat? Well, I've never seen one, and they don't want to show it to you. I don't even know if it exists, but I'm going to say it does. I'm going to say it's with the local assessor. And in a foreclosure, they're not using the proper, even in taxing, they're not using the legal description that goes with the land. They're using the legal description they made up for the property. Because if it's a legal description for the land, it will have the acreage as part of the description. And those are all things I talked about in different videos, so I'm going to stop right there and just move on. So, what else is going on? Malustration of the Motor Vehicle Code, Secretary of State, and inhabitants into unknowingly consenting to the jurisdiction of foreign ecclesiastic society as enemies of the state. When you say you're a resident of the state of Michigan, yes, you just left the state of Michigan and went to state of Michigan. You left the jurisdiction, and now you're in this other jurisdiction under some Talmudic ecclesiastic system, and they can lie, cheat, and steal. It's okay. It's what they do. They're double-minded. They have Judeo-Christian beliefs. They don't know who they are. You can't be a Jew and a Christian. That doesn't make any sense. One said, let his blood be on us and our children. The other ones think it's the rest of us, the Christians, would say, well, that's my God. And a Jew won't do that. So I don't have any Judeo-Christian beliefs. Just Christian beliefs. The maladministration, the insurance code by Director of the Department of Insurance, that's a whole other thing. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways, this goes on and on and on, right? But, so I've submitted this complaint. I don't think I want to read this whole thing. It'll just take too long. To the Court of Appeals. And so what's supposed to happen? So we should look at. So, okay, you put one in. Big deal. Well, what's supposed to happen? Let's go see what's supposed to happen. What should happen? I found, maybe you can find these two. Similar. All right, Court of Appeals Internal Operating Procedures. Now, you see how messed up this is? Look at this says Michigan Court of Appeals, Office of the Clerk. Well, what does the seal say? Court of Appeals of the State of Michigan. So if you're trying to address the court, you need to call it the Court of, not the, just like it says, Court of Appeals of the State of Michigan. That's the name of the court. This Michigan Court of Appeals, Office of the Clerk, I don't know how you put the two together exactly. Not that it matters. Okay, and this just says these internal operating procedures are intended to memorialize the practices adopted by the clerk's office to move appellate's papers through the Michigan Court of Appeals efficiently and in conformity with the Michigan court rules. Accordingly, each IOP is numbered in correspondence to court rule, blah, 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 blah. So this is what they use to, do their business with the paper. And see, here's them district offices. So the main office of clerk of court is on the second floor of Hall of Justice. Mailing address, blah, 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 blah. District offices, there you are. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different districts. Just like it was in the day. Now this District 4, Lansing, is the Hall of Justice. And it says here that United States Postal Service won't deliver, which I think is interesting, to the street address. You need to use a P.O. box. They won't deliver to the street address. Western Union, or not Western Union, UPS will, and FedEx will, and private carriers will, but not the United States Postal Service. All USPS mail addressed to Lansing District Office is directed to the State Secondary Complex, where it is sorted and then delivered to the District Office by the DTMB mail staff within 1 or 2 business days. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but right, the United States Postal Service does not deliver mail of any type to the Hall of Justice, period. Filing papers. All district offices of the clerk are open from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, except on court holidays when closed. Okay, form practice send, new claims to appeal. Used to be had to send them all to Lansing, but they don't do it that way anymore. The clerk's office will only accept and date stamp filings that are submitted to the clerk's staff in the office before 5 p.m. each day. Okay. So I didn't go down and give it to them. I sent it by mail because they have electronic filings. right? But mine is really a paper filing just done by email. Upon filing of initiating papers in the clerk's office of the court, so see how it says clerk's office? Upon the filing of initiating papers in the clerk's office of the court, a Court of Appeals docket number will be assigned to the matter. You need to file with the clerk's office. So I believe, I'm just trying to think, what's the right way to address something? That is Court of Appeals, State of Michigan. That's where you're sending it to. Clerk's office. Right? Not Michigan Court of Appeals, Office of the Clerk. No, that isn't what it said. It said, is that the one or was it up here? Upon the filing of initiating papers with the clerk's office, right? So it's, that's like a proper, is clerk's office, could we say that that's, a proper noun? It's like somebody's a title to something? Is it clerk's office of the court? I don't know. I sent it to the guy that he's called the commissioner because he's the one who runs the clerk's office for the clerk. Because there is only one clerk, and the clerk's in Lansing. And each of these districts has a person called a commissioner that's acting as the clerk. This is a purely ministerial function that precedes the formal review of the papers in conformity with court rules and compliance with jurisdictional mandates. The docket number is assigned to facilitate the efficient and accurate handling of the papers. All right, so that's the first thing you're supposed to do. Give it a docket number. And then they're going to go send it to have it reviewed. So I'm hoping that's what they did. A document is filed when it is delivered to the clerk of the court and accepted by the clerk with the intent to enter it in the record. Upon delivery to any office of the Court of Appeals, a date stamp will be applied as a ministerial act indicating the date, time, and location of receipt of the document. Well, the location, that would be the Michigan Court of Appeals. Once the document and any filing fee are received and date stamped by the clerk's office, the document is considered filed and cannot be returned at the request of the filing party. Well, I'm not asking for it back. I just want to know if they stamped it yet. See, I don't have to pay a fee. This is the thing. This is why you want to make the United States of America the plaintiff. You tell them they have a duty to enforce the laws of the United States, because that's what it says in the Constitution. You make the United States of America the plaintiff, and the United States of America doesn't pay to have something prosecuted. You're just the ex rel plaintiff. You're going to be, it's like a qui tam prosecution, where you're doing it in the name of the king, and you're going to get a private benefit because you were the one who was damaged. Prior to September 1st, provided any document that was required to be signed must bear an original signature of an attorney or party proceeding propria persona. Hey, that'd be in your proper person. Outstanding. Effective after that, this requirement was removed by the court rules under the current policy. The clerk's office will accept signature by consent, signature by permission, facsimile signatures, block stamps, and signature stamps. The clerk's office will not accept filings with a blank signature line or omitting any symbol that could be construed as a signature. As long as you put something on the line, they're going to say you signed it. Good. Claim of appeal. I just want to show you this. Because these are all kind of the same, the way they do them. They're just, you have a claim of appeal, you have a leave for appeal, you have an original action, you got all these different things, but let's just look at this one. Each claim of appeal is assigned an appellate court docket number. Well, everything's assigned a docket number. Even if a prior claim, appeal, or application for leave to appeal has been filed for the same lower court or tribunal case, a new claim of appeal will be assigned a new number. Okay? A postcard will be sent to the parties to advise that the appeal has been received. Well, that's what I'm waiting for. I haven't gotten my postcard yet. The Court of Appeals docket number that is stated on this card should be included on all further filings in this matter. Okay, so what day did I send this thing? That's what I should go look at. On the 31st. And what day are we on to now? 5th, right? And it's Sunday. 3rd. So, you know, I don't know how many days it takes, but I didn't get one yet. But I executed it May 31st. I believe that would have been in the evening, because I didn't get this done until late in the evening. And I sent it, and so they would have had it the next morning, which would have been the 1st. Right? So they only had a couple days with it. And, well, that's really about it with that. So give me just 1 second. One last thing, since I had talked about it numerous times, this is that Standard Form 61 appointment affidavits. Right? And this is what every officer in the United States that takes the oath under 5 U.S.C. 3331 is supposed to be filling out as that's appointed. Because elected officers are supposed to take the same oath, but appointed officers are supposed to take this oath. And this is just how simple it is, right? This I, with a space, do solemnly swear or affirm that, right, I will support and defend, blah, 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 blah. Well, that A, oath of office, has been put in between I do solemnly swear and taken that part out of the oath of office. So where it says oath of office, I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, well, that isn't the same as the oath that's in 5 U.S.C. 3331. It's a no-go. But that's the way they do it. Now this thing says down here, this isn't, you know, I mean, this is the deviousness of the system. It's where the devil's in the details. Note, if the appointee objects to the form of the oath on religious grounds, certain modifications may be permitted pursuant to Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Please contact your agency's legal counsel for advice. Whatever that means. What I know is where it says oath of office, from there on down is not what it says as the mandated oath of office in 5 U.S.C. 3331. And therefore, you are unconstitutionally appointed, and you can go cry to your mama, I don't care. In law, it's unconstitutional. You need to go fix your paperwork. Now, this goes for military officers, too, who they actually have to do 2 different ones. All right, this is the oath of office for military personnel. But then you look at authority, 5 U.S.C. 3331. So the words of 5 U.S.C. 3331 should be in here. Go find them words. 5 U.S.C. 3331. Where it says, an individual except the president, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed services shall take the following oath. There is no room to deviate. I, A.B., do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, yada, yada, yada. All the words. All them words are on here, on this form. Except they put oath of office in and they bifurcated it. It's not the same as 3331, so it just isn't the same. And so this form here for military officers, right, this is another oath that they take. But it talks about the other oath, that the 5 U.S.C. 3331, which says they have to take. But it isn't on this form, so there has to be another one. See this here, I have been appointed officer of the United States as indicated above grade of, do solemnly swear or affirm, I will support and defend. Right? This isn't the same wording. This isn't the same wording as I do solemnly swear or affirm I'll support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Right? In this one, they added words. Having been appointed an officer of the United States as indicated above in the grade of, right? It's not good. It ain't going to make it. It has to be exactly like this, or it wasn't done properly. This is called the rule of law, right? The rule is do what the law says. You don't do what the law says, you didn't follow the rule. And the law said take this oath right here. I, A.B., do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. You don't have a choice. That's the oath you got to take, or you're not going to be an officer of the United States. You could be a de facto agent, but you're not a de jure officer. And a de facto agent doesn't have any constitutional powers, so when it tries to invoke the powers of the office, that's an act of treason, because you don't have the power to do it. Whenever any person is elected or appointed to an office of honor or trust under the government of the United States, he or she is required, before entering upon the duties his or her office, to take and subscribe oath described in 5 U.S.C. 3331. Right, military officers, you guys know this. Come on. This isn't the same oath, so you didn't take the right oath. I'm sorry, just go redo it. Tell them to do it tomorrow. So, if we could get this stuff cleared up and make all of these officers who they're supposed to be, then the laws of the United States could be enforced. Until then, I'm going to have to see if I can get these folks to do it. Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. And you shouldn't have any fear of these people. You don't owe any taxes. The taxes go to the guy with the middle initial. Just tell him it isn't you. Swear to it. That and one other thing. I mean, this is right. That anybody can find this manual. It's called the IRS Processing Codes and Information. It's also called the IRS 60. I call it the IRS 6209 manual. If you put that in Google, you'll end up on the IRS website where you can download these. And if you go to the second section, which is like, I don't know, 28th page or so of the PDF, right? Tax returns and forms. And in this section, it lists all the forms. See, these are all the forms and returns going down the left-hand side. This is their title, file source, tax class, which we're really interested in, and some other information. All right, tax class. So we got the numbers basically go, well, this one goes up to 9, right? Between 0 and 9. Look at that. So first of all, we have to find out where all these numbers are. What do all these mean? Some of these are for all of them. Some are just for 5s. Some are just for 1s. What's a W-2 for? That's for a 5. What's a W-4 for? That's for a 5. What is 1099 for? $10.99. Let's go look. Well, look at that. 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. All of them are for 5s. I wonder what a 5 is for. All right, what's a 1040 for? 1041. 1040. 2 and a 6. Well, we don't have no 6s. Oh, we got our 5s. Well, you know, your W-2 is a 5, a W-4 is a 5, 1099s are a 5. Well, why would you put them on a 1040 form for? They're for Class 2. Look at 1040A, 2, 1040C, 2, 1040ES, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. I don't see any of them that are for 5. Which one is for 5? Where's the 5? Actually, that's way up here. 706 and 709s are for 5s and 6s. Those are returns, and so that's where you should put it. Now, in a 1040 form, they have a place to put things that are Class 5 that would be under the gift and estate section. And we'll see where that is here in just a second. I got to find. So basically, if you go a little bit further down, it's been a long time since I went through this manual. I think it's in section 4, where it will list right. So this is talking about the DLN composition, which is a long string of numbers, but the important thing is the second set is tax class. And finally, someone will tell us what the tax class means. The third digit is the tax class. This identifies the type of tax each transaction involves. What's a 5? It's information return processing, estate, and gift tax. It's not income tax. Right? 6, NMF. I'm not really sure what that means. I could think of something for it, but I probably would be incorrect. See, 1, withholding in Social Security. 2, individual tax. Fiduciary income tax. Partnership return. But it definitely isn't a 5. A 5 is information return processing and IRP, estate, and gift tax. And then 2, so most people get 1099s and W-2s. And W-2, so you can see it for yourself, is a 5. You don't put it down as income. That'd be incorrect. And 1099s. Tax class 555. $1096 is a 5. 1098 is a 5. 1098C is a 5. 1098E is a 5. Right, all of these things should be being put down as either gift and estate, which has like a $5 million exemption or something like that. Right? So put it down. Just put it on the right line. But the other thing is they're sending all your paperwork to your middle initial name, and that's incorrect. And, you know, so for these reasons, don't fear them. Go point it out. Go say that they're breaking the law, that they're the ones that are violating the law, that it is what did it say? Oh, history. Allegations of widespread corruption in the Internal Revenue Service. Let's just go ahead and call it what it is and see what they'll do about it. So, okay, I'm done yakking. We'll see what this week brings. One last thing, if you can, brothers and sisters, please donate. Stop right now, write that down, and send me a little something. Until I get them to convert my frickin' property, and then, hey, I won't need it, I can help you out. And just show you how to do it. That'd be all the help you ever need. After that, you'd be free willy. Okay, take care all. See ya.